Look directly at the person sitting right next to you, or simply stare deeply into a mirror right now. Whether they are deep brown, striking green, or even piercing blue, you are actually looking at a highly classified biological weapon. This drastic and incredibly dramatic genetic makeover was not some random accident. It was not a magical roll of the evolutionary dice. It was definitely not an aesthetic preference for our ancient ancestors. Just a completely ruthless, cold survival story. If you look closely at the absolute origin code of human beings,
Wow,
there
what
was
a
only one
great
default setting for our
default.
eyes: brown. Every single early human had them. It was not a fashion statement or a cosmetic choice made by evolution. Brown eyes were not just a simple color. They were a highly sophisticated optimization algorithm. Think of them as a pair of integrated primitive sunglasses, hardwired directly into your skull by an engineer who does not care about your feelings at all. Mother Nature is absolutely not an artist painting a beautiful canvas. She is a ruthless, cold, calculating mechanic. From her completely indifferent perspective, the only thing that actually matters is whether your physical hardware can handle the blistering, unyielding radiation of the sun long enough for you to pass on your genes. That is it. That is the entire performance review. A perfect rating just means you survived the blinding glare of a surprisingly rude star without your vision getting completely fried. Melanin, the dark pigment packed densely into the iris of those brown eyes, was the ultimate biological shield. It absorbed the absolute worst of the solar damage. It was incredibly efficient, flawless, and universally deployed across the entire human species. It was the ultimate biological armor, an absolute masterpiece of evolutionary engineering designed for one singular purpose: to keep you and your delicate vision alive in harsh environments. No pale eyes existed anywhere on the planet. Nobody was walking around with a bright blue or pale green gaze. Every single human had this impenetrable protection installed. Every single one of them. Absolutely no exceptions. Literally all of them. It was a perfectly closed, entirely flawless loop of biological survival. So why exactly did Mother Nature suddenly decide to break her own perfectly flawless biological design? But here is the thing about Mother Nature. She did not intentionally break her perfectly flawless biological design. Instead, the underlying software simply experienced a glitch. For a massive stretch of human history, the physical hardware ran absolutely perfectly. Then, an incredibly tiny typo suddenly occurred deep inside the genetic code. When you look directly at someone with bright blue eyes, you are not actually looking at blue pigment. Blue pigment absolutely does not exist anywhere inside the human iris. What you are actually looking at is a literal software bug, a biological error. Think of human DNA as an impossibly complex electronic circuit board. On this highly advanced board, there is a specific power switch that physically controls the brown ink cartridge for your eyes. Scientists identified exactly where this bizarre hardware malfunction happened. It is a mutation occurring inside a regulatory element located directly within the HER2 gene. This specific gene acts exactly like the master power switch for melanin production in your iris, and one day, deep in our ancestral past, that switch was accidentally flipped completely off. This glitch did not magically create a brand new color. It simply shut down the internal factory that produced the brown one. Without that dark melanin to absorb incoming radiation, the light enters the eye, scatters, and reflects back out as blue. It is just a trick of the light caused by a broken printer. But the most staggering part of this HER2 gene mutation is not how it chemically works. It is where it actually came from. When researchers traced this exact genetic typo back through history, they found something absolutely wild. It is a perfectly associated founder mutation. That means every single person on this planet who has blue eyes did not just spontaneously develop it from random independent evolutionary events. They all inherited it from the exact same place, one specific individual. A single common ancestor who walked the ancient Earth with a broken genetic switch, looking at the world through a pair of perfectly defective eyes. Just one person, one microscopic glitch inside a regulatory element of the HERS2 gene. That is literally all it took to permanently alter the entire face of the modern human species. The biological software crashed. The brown ink permanently ran out, and the uncorrected error immediately became an immortal feature. A beautifully broken line of ancient human source code. Now, here's the problem. Think about this objectively for a second. If you are walking around an incredibly sunny environment with a permanently broken UV filter installed directly inside your skull, you are basically a walking target. That is not an evolutionary advantage. That is a biological death sentence. A genetic mistake of that magnitude should have been immediately and ruthlessly deleted from the source code. Mother Nature is usually highly efficient at clearing out defective hardware. If a trait actively harms your ability to survive long enough to have offspring, it gets erased. End of story. So why, in the name of all that is strictly logical, did a glitch occurring inside a regulatory element of the HERS2 gene not just survive, but somehow manage to aggressively spread? How did an uncorrected software error that literally broke the human eye's built-in defense mechanism become the defining trait of millions of people? Because natural selection has an incredibly cold, calculating perspective. It is entirely indifferent to your aesthetic appeal or your comfort. It only cares about one absolute metric: survival. And in a very specific, unforgiving set of environmental circumstances, this exact founder mutation, this broken switch inherited from that single ancient ancestor, did not kill them fast enough. The mistake somehow managed to slip through the cracks of evolutionary quality control. It was not a brilliant biological upgrade. It was an accident that Mother Nature, in a rare moment of bizarre tolerance, simply looked at and decided not to instantly destroy. A perfectly defective eye that somehow survived against all odds. When you look into a pair of blue eyes today, you are not just looking at a broken piece of genetic code. You are looking at a living monument to human survival. That tiny glitch inside the HERT2 gene should have been a complete biological failure. Instead, it became a testament to how stubbornly our ancestors refused to be erased by the environment. We are not just a collection of perfectly engineered parts. We are the beautiful result of countless microscopic mistakes that somehow managed to work. Whether your eyes are the deepest, most impenetrable brown, designed as an unyielding shield against the blinding radiation, or the palest, icy blue, born from a desperate software error, they tell the exact same ancient story. They are a permanent record of an endless, silent war fought across hundreds of thousands of years. Ultimately, there is absolutely no right or wrong color. Every single eye color is just a biological answer to a question asked by a surprisingly ruthless star.